Good afternoon, Wrestling Inc. Get up, get going. Welcome back to the Wrestling Inc. Daily. It's me, your managing editor of WrestlingInc.com, Nick Hausman, joined here as I'm every Friday to have some fun, to talk the final bit of pro wrestling news for the week. It's our good friend, TK Trinidad. TK, welcome back to the Wrestling Inc. Daily.
Hey, happy Friday.
Hey, happy Friday indeed. We're going to have some fun here today. We got a lot of news to get to here in just a little bit. Later on in the show, if you're listening to us in audio form, you're going to hear the full interview that our own Paul Pratt did with Jeff Jarrett yesterday. These two are going to be involved in the NWA Crockett Cup this weekend. Paul was able to just snag this interview with Jeff out of nowhere yesterday. So I hope you all enjoy it. You're going to hear some of Jeff's candid thoughts on Scott Hall, which we will have up on the site here later on this afternoon. But, of course, his feud with Effie comes up and a lot more. So I think you guys are really going to dig that. And the video, it's a video we made of the audio. So, you know, however you want to dice it up, it's over on YouTube as well. And then at the end of the show for everybody, we'll dive in the mailbag. We're going to look at Jeff Hardy, possible singles matches that he could be having over in AEW world. But the chat room is open. We got Gigi Granda. Happy Friday, says Gigi. Good afternoon from Andrew Cormos. Thanks so much, everybody. Dive on in. Let us know what you're thinking as we go along here. We want to hear your thoughts on the stories of today. All right. You ready to get to this, TK?
I'm ready.
Let's do it. News you can use, news that'll leave a bruise. We're going to start off with Busted Open Radio. My favorite topic at the moment, TK, is Ring of Honor. I think because it could be anything, right? Like, we kind of know what it's going to be, but we don't really know what it's going to be. Are you as interested in the goings-on of Ring of Honor at the moment?
I'm interested to see what happens. Like, if they're going to keep with the authentic, what it was before, or it's going to be an overall change, or it's just going to be like, AEW light. So I'm interested. And I'm also interested that maybe this will inspire Tony Khan because it's a smaller promotion. That
Sure.
He might do things that we've been asking him to do, but he'll test it out on Ring of Honor, which might be a great thing. So yeah, there's a lot of possibilities. I'm erring towards the positive. I'm hoping towards the positive that TK will do right by ROH.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, so far it seems like, he is trying to satiate the base. Obviously, we're going to have Jonathan Gresham, the original ROH champion, the undisputed ROH champion versus the original ROH champion, Bandito. That's going to be the main event of Supercard to determine a definitive Ring of Honor champion. And just today, I think like an hour and a half ago, I don't know if you saw this, I don't even know if we have it up on the site yet, Tony Khan announced the Briscoes versus FTR finally going to happen at Supercard.
Yeah, I saw that.
Which is cool. And yeah, everybody wants to see the match. I'm sure the match is going to be bigger, right? But
it is.
Tony Khan bought Ring of Honor with this other entity that is not the same entity that owns AEW. It's a different kind of entity. And we had heard that Warner Media was kind of standing in the way of Tony and AEW signing the Briscoe brothers because of those comments. I think we talked about this last Friday.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Funny how that works. So, like, I think it's cool. Is there a motorcycle driving through your living room right now? Oh,
you can hear that?
Oh, yeah. We all heard that.
Oh, that's really loud.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's like literally on the other side of my block. That's crazy.
Oh, all right. Well, hey, no, just want to make sure. I heard it, and it sounded like it was like a weird science scene. Anyway, deep cut motorcycle through the living room. Anyway, I just want to make. I was very loud. But yeah, no, I think it's cool that like with this other entity that Tony has set Ring of Honor up on, it's going to give him, like you were saying, it's going to give him flexibility to do some stuff maybe we've wanted to see at AEW. We don't really know how much Warner has been in Tony's ear. Like we hear about like Fox and NBC Universal, like they have stuff they tell to Vince McMahon all the time, and I guess it leads to changes. We don't really know how much of an impact or what Warner has said to Tony and AEW about their product. It's interesting that the Briscoes here, no problem, right? These are very different things. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it just also depends on, where it's airing, the time it's airing, all those little nuances definitely will play the key. But yeah, that when I saw that pop up, I'm like, okay, this ROH, like it might be the like separate entity, which I'm kind of like happy about. So,
and I'm wondering too, because I do think that Tony's going to try to just, I don't want to say rip off Brett Lauderdale's playbook for GCW, but I feel like this is going to give him the flexibility to kind of play the venues that a GCW does, build talent like a GCW does, is like a feeder, which is what GCW's largely been to AEW kind of anyway. And yeah, you know, we'll see how it goes. But there's a couple updates here that Tony gave on Busted Open Radio. He said that the Supercard of Honor show in 2 weeks, definitely going to happen. He sees it as a transitional show. So part of me thinks that maybe he's going to book this, you know, in conjunction with like how Delirious and Joe Koff kind of saw their stories wrapping up before hard launching. I think the next week in Philly is the next Ring of Honor show. What his vision of the brand is really going to be. I don't know that we're going to fully get the TK vision at Supercard. I could be wrong. It sounds like he's going to try his best to wrap up the business Ring of Honor had at fan at this show, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's for like, because we have AEW and TK with AEW, if we see this in a kind of a slower progression to what his eventual vision is for the show, like, or for Ring of Honor, that then makes sense. Versus bringing out like, you know, all the heavy hitters, or not the heavy hitters, but everything that he has that he wants to do on that one show, because you're going to alienate the fan base from before, and then, you know, that might alienate the AEW folks, because they're like, wait, we wanted this on AEW, now you're putting this on Ring of Honor, and, you know, they might not want to see. So I think it's a good play. I think it's a good play for him.
Yeah, and I wonder too with the kind of the buckets of AEW and Ring of Honor, and this is the point I was trying to make with the GCW stuff, and I kind of got wandered down off on the wrong path. But like, it's been the AEW product has been so violent as of late. Like, we've seen that bag of thumbtacks used twice in 2 weeks, right? And I wonder if like this is maybe a way where they can take some of that deathmatch style and kind of push it towards the Ring of Honor product, which is not going to be on the same kind of tier as AEW, and kind of, I don't know if maybe kind of split that apart. Like, we're going to see, it's just one example, but like aspects of AEW that maybe mainstream sponsors, TV people like kind of pulled away over here. Like, Tony, you can still play with this over here, but we're going to clean up your TV product a little bit. That's a thought I had, you know?
Yeah. The only hope I like, one of the hopes, is not the only hope, that, you know, the wrestlers will get a lot of wrestlers will get opportunities. And that's a really great thing about AEW. They do bring a lot of wrestlers who are unsigned talent to AEW. You see them on dark matches and YouTube and etc. I'm hoping it's the same thing for ROH, where it might be a newer wrestler and they get those opportunities, provided, you know, they have to be a great wrestler. But with so many wrestling schools out there now, and how, like, you know, it's not necessarily the same as far as coming up, I'm just hoping that, you know, that funnel as far as seeing new talent and introducing new talent, you know, won't stop.
Well, he also confirmed in this Busted Open appearance that there is going to be a new Ring of Honor TV product. And he said, wherever it does air or stream. So did not necessarily tie it into Warner Media. Again, I had heard kind of that Sinclair Broadcasting still wanted to air pro wrestling content. They just didn't have to pay for it, right?
Right.
So I'm interested to see what kind of distribution model Tony gets here, because part of me thinks he's going to get a lot of syndicated, like, national channels through Sinclair, and Ring of Honor could be distributed, run completely differently than AEW, which is, I think, what most fans wanted when Vince bought WCW, was this kind of model, right?
Yeah. You have like the parents company, or the parents, which is TK, and then, you know, that they're under that umbrella, but they're two separate things.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Very hard. And like, that's the thing, is like, Vince gave up on trying to balance that in like 3 weeks. You know, he saw Bagwell and Booker T and was like, we're done here, folks. All right, shut the door. But I think
it's tough to balance all of that, especially like to a product that you're still trying to build. Because let's be honest, like AEW is still like it's not a full grown adult.
it's
It's
pretty
still
close.
building.
It's pretty close. I mean, it is crazy to me that AEW is 3 years old now, right? I was reflecting on
Hmm.
this today. They got Punk there, Brian there, Moxley's there, Regal's there. I'm realistically asking Billy Gunn in an interview, do you think Hunter would show up? Like, it seems like the whole NXT crew's rolling over, and he was like, no, I'll leave it at that. Did not seem to want to talk about that particular issue. But it's glaring how much top tier talent has amassed in AEW. Some of that talent, like a Marco Stunt, a Joey Janela ain't coming back, but like some of this other talent that's peeling away, Sonny Kiss from the
Hmm.
original AEW that never kind of found a slot. Maybe Ring of Honor, they'll be bigger. Like, were they small fish in the bigger pond that's becoming AEW? Can those fish be big fish in your smaller Ring of Honor pond now? Kind of redistribute people a little bit. You know what I mean?
Well, yes and no. I feel like yes, AEW is bringing the heavy hitters to AEW.
Right.
However, some of them are not being utilized. So I feel when you find the balance where you can have the heavy hitters and you have the great storylines, and I mean, balance is it's not even a realistic thing, but something to that level where it's not always the same people cycling over and such a heavy roster that they're not using. I feel like that's when they get to that point where you have a solid storyline for the mid card. You have those solid storylines throughout the whole promotion, and versus you have a couple people and then it's like, oh, I didn't even know that person was still signed to AEW.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, and I do agree. I was actually thinking about Sunny Kiss the other day because I'm like, wait, like what's happening? Because I it's just there's not necessarily a storyline there, and yeah, she might do well in ROH, but I feel like if they wrote the right story, there could have been something that happened there too. So that's the whole balancing. It's like now you have two products that you're balancing, finding the right people who have the same vision per se.
Right.
But I feel like AEW, like they're definitely kudos to them because it feels like 5 years. It feels more than 3 years.
It is crazy, right? And like May 1st, I guess, is when like Joey's contract officially his 3 years comes up. Marco's official 3 years come up. We're gonna see some people come and go. Really,
Mhm.
again, like is Tony gonna like fire people from AEW and then re-sign them to Ring of Honor contracts? Like it is this going to be a viable third brand? I don't know. Like, and it is also like, if anything were ever to go wrong with Warner Media, it's kind of nice for Tony to know I have an entirely separate wrestling entity with its own distribution model, really kind
Yeah,
of taking the don't put all of your eggs in one basket thing kind of to the next level, create an entirely
right.
other wrestling promotion with its own model. It's pretty wild.
Yeah,
It's pretty
it
wild.
is. The other thing too is that I wonder how much. Uh, I mean, obviously he's controlling a lot for ROH, but say somebody he doesn't particularly, fancy at AEW and they let that person go. Well, they actually have a chance at ROH. It's like almost like a monopoly of some sorts. So because when you think of like ROH and like I personally think like ROH and Impact, NWA, they're kind of this entity where you could see a lot of faces, a lot of people starting their careers, a lot of people in the middle of the career. Like you just see a lot of moving parts. But when now it's the same person controlling that, like is are we not going to see those
I
as
there,
many faces?
there's no way Tony Khan can keep this pace up forever. I mean, he will literally have a heart attack or an aneurysm balancing all this. I would think, like, yeah, he can keep booking AEW, right? That seems like his gimmick. Maybe Ring of Honor, but like Dark, QT Marshall's probably going to be booking Dark on his own here
Hmm.
pretty soon, right? Dark Elevation, maybe that trickles down to somebody else, right? Maybe
Yeah,
we got Dean Malenko booking AEW Dark Elevation. I mean, the guy is look, as much as Tony Khan thinks he can shoulder everything and never sleep and somehow get it all done, hitting maximum capacity here, and we're going to see some of these responsibilities get passed around here much sooner than later. I would have to think. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope so too. And then, great writers. I think that's the one thing I think that I don't know. I think the industry is lacking. I'm sure they're around, but I feel like, they're on a short leash.
Yeah.
Whereas like the ideas that they might have had are just getting kiboshed, and it's just kind of like, so I, kind of almost let the writers loose and let's see what can actually happen as far as storylines.
And you say writers, but I think just bookers, right? Like, I think just like there's some good booking minds. Like, I don't know if Delirious kept around. I mean, maybe with a governor on him, some kind of situation like that. I mean, what's going on with Cody Rhodes? It seemed obvious he's going to go be with Rollins, right, at WrestleMania. But
yeah,
Cody Rhodes, wouldn't it be great to have one, or maybe Dustin Rhodes, starts booking Ring of Honor or something like that? I don't know.
yeah. Well, I mean, anything's fine. It's exciting though.
Oh,
It's for some of the negatives. It's exciting that the brand didn't just die, which is what I was afraid of.
so the other thing here is this final quote from this Busted Open piece, and we'll move on to some other news. But Tony says, I think there is a very cool way to use some of the great wrestlers in AEW who are going to be available and make this a great show, which you would think would mean like those dream match, Bryan Danielson returning to Ring of Honor, CM Punk returning to Ring of Honor. I would bet Homicide is going to be part of Ring of Honor if I had to wager, right? Sending Eddie Kingston down there. But like, the whole reason NWO like worked was because it felt like this entity trying to destroy WCW in earnest, right? Now, I'm not saying you're going to get to it right away, but Tony Khan does seem to be setting the stage here, if done correctly, pretty nicely to book his own inter-promotional program between these two entities to drive interest back and forth to both of them, which is something he test ran with Impact, NWA, and New Japan over the past few years.
Yeah, I mean that definitely you do like, because you have those dream matches that you want to see, and WWE's on this island, and for those people who are I don't know what the right word is, WWE quarantine, like they're never leaving WWE. You're not going to see certain matches ever.
Sure.
So it's nice to see Impact, AEW, and like it's nice to see those things. So I'm definitely for that, but it's just again just on a healthy level, like how much sleep is he getting, and if you're not getting enough sleep, are you actually really able to get like all those ideas out, like actually putting the people in charge, some people in charge, and actually sitting back and then becoming the master puppeteer.
I think it was Jerry Law. Who was Jerry Lawler's booking partner in Memphis? Anybody in the chat room is more than welcome to jump in. But he's talked on the record about how, like, in Memphis, the way they did it is one booker would book for 6 months, and then they'd go back and they'd sit there and they'd think and they'd watch what the other booker did for 6 months. And then when that booker was done, he'd come in and say, I got all these fresh ideas to piggyback off all the cool stuff you were doing. And then you let the other booker's brain kind of take a break, and you kind of go back and forth. That's how it worked in Memphis. Obviously, Vince McMahon has held the reins pretty strong for 30 years over at WWE. But I think that, again, like, it's critical capacity. No way this guy's going to be able to book all of this stuff forever. No way. Going to have to come up with something different. So
I mean, if he does, I mean, kudos to him. But we're definitely lacking. I mean, and AEW is a great product. There's just certain things that are lacking that I feel like if you were to sit back and maybe listen to some folks, we might get certain storylines, or you might see, because like all of us, when we get tired, there's certain things that we miss. There's no, I mean, that's just even Jesus slept. So like you have to take a moment, breathe it in, take a vacation or something, so then you can see those things, and then maybe 80, because it's never going to be 100% happiness, but 80% was like, man, that was a really great story, or that was a really great, like, this is right on where it was supposed to be. So,
Yeah, totally. Well, one thing we are lacking right now in AEW is Kenny Omega, and the Observer here saying that Omega right now is recovering from arthroscopic knee surgery. That's going to take him around 10 weeks to recover from. Then he's going to go back under the knife at the end of March to repair a sports hernia. That recovery is going to take about 2 months. And then besides the hernia surgery, Omega has some other issues he's planning to take care of before he returns to action. Currently, no time frame for his return. It is wild to me how, like, still very present Kenny Omega feels in AEW, and he's been gone for a while and will not be back for a while. But there are still, like, allusions to him on AEW TV, and Tony Khan's on the media call saying, I don't think we'll introduce trio titles until Kenny comes back, which I think some other trios teams are probably like, what? K? Anyway. So,
well, I mean, it feels like he's an integral part to AEW, so I kind of see it. But yeah, it does. It's, it's those people that he's definitely in the good position, because you know how sometimes you forget that actually somebody's on the roster, and that's the position that you don't want to be in. It's like, oh yeah, that person's actually signed to the roster. Yeah, or the position that he's in is like, no, I thought he was. It's been months since he's gone. Like that's kind of a crazy thing that he's still present in your mind. So that's a good position for him to be in. Hopefully everything heals up properly. With today's technology is definitely doable.
Well, and Fightful had a report out this afternoon where they were talking about how Kenny is still very active in his EVP role. He's overseeing the video game stuff, so he's still a very active presence backstage in AEW right now, even through the injury. Also, got an update here on a free agent, Cesaro, aka Claudio Castagnoli, aka CSRO. That's the trademark that Cesaro filed. It is a play on his ring name. Obviously, it's Cesaro without the vowels. He trademarked it for merchandise, coffee products, and pro wrestling use. Now, a lot of people thinking this is the name he's going to use post WWE. Very possible. I don't know that for gospel. It would look like the description would allude to that. But I can say I got the CSRO espresso beans last year, and that's the coffee brand that he had going during his last year with WWE. Probably like a way to like strike the balance there and get that up and running while he was still making money with WWE.
As you should, yeah.
Oh yeah, I love that Cesaro's side hustle is espresso. Like, what a gentleman. And I think this might have more to do with that than his ring name. Could be wrong. But the espresso beans I remember being damn fine, damn good espresso, and I would absolutely recommend it to anybody. So,
yes and no. I feel like, well, if he's on good terms with WWE, I feel like that would be fine.
Oh yeah,
but WWE sometimes swiftly is like, no, you're not doing that. But I mean, why wouldn't he use, like, he's kind of known for that, and even if it's spelt like that, you still kind of like, remember when Prince had the symbol, but everybody still called him Prince?
How could I forget?
It's kind of like that type of thing. It's like, even though it's spelled differently, you're still gonna refer to him as Cesaro. So yeah, kudos to him. Yeah, it's I always I was listening to an interview, I don't know, sometime today or yesterday, talking about the Bella Twins and their business, like how they established their business. It's like, if you're on this huge of a platform, and one, you're not going to stay young forever. Two, none of these promotions are committed to you on any given day. They can just let you go. It's imperative to have some type of brand other than wrestling going. Like, it makes sense, because the in between, what if you're injured, or all these possibilities. So yeah, kudos to him.
Yeah, for sure. And lastly, here in our news block, before we dive into the mailbag, and for those listening in audio form, you're going to hear Jeff Jarrett in just a minute. The Observer saying the idea behind the Austin Theory Pat McAfee angle was to lead to Vince McMahon being introduced to the match in some capacity. And despite many rumors, it remains to be seen what Vince is actually going to do. It was noted that McMahon's role in the feud had been finalized as something different before, but then it was changed. McMahon is obviously going to do whatever he wants, and how much he will or won't do in the McAfee versus Theory program is something that maybe only he knows at this point. But really, kind of where we're at now, I don't think Vince is needed. Like, I get the tie to Theory, but I'm enjoying watching Theory and McAfee just kind of shine on their own without the, specter of Vince being all over this all the time, if that makes sense,
Yes and no. Like, I definitely see it, but let's aside from Vince maybe being a robot, he's getting older. So I feel like these might be the last few times that he might take like a boot to the face, or like he actually can take a bump. So if he were going to, and he's able to, and his body can take that, whatever, chop to the neck or something, this would be the time. And I think he might have, he might have more. I don't know Vince like that, but given age, it's we'll give him on the good side less than 10. So so let's I wouldn't mind seeing it. I don't know if that's something wrong with me, seeing somebody of that age getting a boot to the face, but I wouldn't mind seeing that. I think that would be awesome.
All right. Well, hey, TK, I want to thank you for joining me at the top of the show to talk all the news today. Thank you for that great button there. Wanting to see Vince McMahon get kicked in the face. And thank you to Jeff Jarrett and Paul for that great interview that we just laid out there in the conversation segment of the show. It's time to dive into the mailbag now. At Wink Daily, that's the account to follow if you want to vote in our daily poll at WINC Daily. Today's poll question: who do you most want to see Jeff Hardy go one-on-one with in AEW? A little over 100 votes here. 48.1% to Darby Allin, 35.2 to Punk, 11.1 to Sammy Guevara, and 5.6 to everybody else. Now, not tag matches, just Jeff Hardy one-on-one. I thought CM Punk was going to blow this out of the water. I'm a little surprised here. Half the votes went to Darby Allin. What do you think about that?
I can see it. Like Darby Allin had a good run. That was when I saw the list. It's like my thought first was Darby Allin, then CM Punk. Okay. Yeah. You just want to see, because the issue with signing all this former WWE talent, it's like, now you're kind of booking these matches where it's WWE, like the talents of WWE together. And it's nice to see like fresh blood, like something new that you've never seen before, you never thought before, and now they're in the same, brand, same company. So, it's nice to see the fresh blood, and then, we can get to CM Punk. So yeah, I would like to see that. That would be a great story.
There's a difference between watching Mike Tyson box and watching Mike Tyson beat the shit out of people in a bar he doesn't like. And, I think that what we're seeing right now with these WWE guys that are going to AEW, except for the Hardys, who seem wholeheartedly into the nostalgia run right now and look to be doing what they did in WWE. I imagine it will change eventually. But everybody else, we're seeing like, the alt universe version or parallel universe version of a lot of these people. Yeah. And that's why I'm kind of intrigued by Punk. Dylan Matthews here saying storyline wise, I would say Punk. I agree, just because, we saw how good they worked together in WWE. We've heard Punk in the MJF feud talk about how far he's willing to take things and how he went after Jeff about his substance abuse issues and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I'm interested to see what kind of art Jeff and Punk would put together in this kind of space where they're allowed to use all the colors on the palette. I think these guys are, prime. What is, just the best part of their career where they know how to tell stories better than anybody else.
True. Yeah.
This is where I want to see these two get together and just blow my mind right now,
And that's the good thing about AEW. It seems that if you reach a certain level and you're trusted, then you have a little bit more free reign to tell that story. Whereas in some other instances, you could tell that the match is just very controlled. So yeah, that would definitely be a great match. But for some reason, I want to see Darby first. I feel like we have time.
Well, I'm in the minority here. Half the people voted with me. All right. Hey, we're going to wrap it there. The Paul Pratt interview with Jeff Jarrett is starting right now. If you want to jump over to that. If not, stick around here for a couple seconds. As I let you know, we'll be back on Monday. Me, Michael Weissman. Of course, if you like the Wrestling Inc. Daily, go to whatever podcast platform you like. 5-star ratings, comments, always appreciated. SportWrestlingInc.com and all our socials. And come back here tonight after SmackDown for the Wrestling Inc. podcast. TK, what do you want to put over here before we wrap up?
Oh, goodness. We have a lot of interviews dropping, too many that I can't even remember. But we're also still celebrating Women's History Month. So we have still, are you
I was grabbing all the interviews. I was trying to catch all the interviews.
was like, let me see.
They're flying everywhere right now. I was like, oh,
That's what it feels like. It's a lot.
oh.
We have a lot of celebrating Women's History Month, so the article dropping every single day. We had a really great panel of Mission Pro Wrestling, the whole team there. We had a panel yesterday, so we have a lot of stuff, panels, articles, interviews. So you can go to www.talkpod.com to check all that out, and you can follow me on everything at TK Trinidad.
Awesome. And I'm at Nick_Hausman over on Twitter. Thanks for a great week, everybody. Take care. I'll talk to you Monday. And remember, if you winked, you didn't miss it.